their papers as first authors. If they don't get their first authorship, they are not allowed to submit their thesis. So if we make it mandatory for scientists either to have first authorship or a corresponding authorship, students and those kind of MSc or PhD students, they lose in the process. So how do you justify capacity building then?
I think either I was not very clear to explain my view. My view is that when, and I told several times, so what happens, so first is that as a research program director, I do not want to play micromanagement role. Second point is that I am telling from the beginning to encourage the young scientists at all the level, either in the conference participation, presentations, research publications. Third is, what I am saying that as a scientist, you do not publish only one or two papers, generally you publish more papers. If you are working with the masters or PhD student, of course in those cases, master or PhD student, and if you think, again I am leaving this thing on you, on your discretion. And this is good, but I don't want to make it as a rule, because I am not an authority to make the rule in the institute. I am just a research program director, I can just propose. So I recognize my limitation as well, so don't think that. So what I am saying, when a master's student or PhD student is working with you, this is your discretion. What you told, when you have this feeling, of course you will make your master or PhD student as the first author. But in that case, you will become the corresponding author. Just a minute, let me, you agree with me or not?
Yeah.
So in that case, the master's degree student will already, now the second scenario, let me put like that. If there is other scientist and who says, this publication has come out not from one student's work, from 5 PhD student works or 5 students, then in those cases there are always difficulty to become the how, then in that case group leader will be the first author. So now we need to find some other alternative. So again, so this is very, when we talk about the publications, we can talk in details, there are different kind of ethics. So we need to consider that what we want to do. At this stage, I was not talking about the students thing. I am really very much interested that we should encourage young scientists in all the stages. But at the same time, what I am talking at the RP grain legume level, I am talking at this stage at the scientist level. That as a scientist, sometimes you have been asked to write the review article. You will not be asking, well, I do this thing many times that I ask my postdocs and PhD, but this is again restricted to me. I am not saying that other colleagues also should follow the same thing what I do. But what I am saying that when you are asked for writing the review article, generally ethics says that those group leaders, they are the first author. So then there are different kind of scenarios. This will be scientists will be well placed to decide what they need to do. Dr. Sharma, you want to share something? You are a very prolific author, so you can shut up me or you can share something.
Well, I always give precedence to the
Yeah.
students and the scientists.
So each of us are having a different kind of thing, so we need to, yeah. You have some other thing to share, Pooja?
No, that's it, that's my own.
Yeah, very good. So I think that we have explained, you have been satisfied. Yeah? Gopal?
On many occasions, you also have co-guide in the universities.
Yeah.
So at times, the corresponding authorship goes to them. So we will be in the middle of the.
So then this is very important point and we can discuss in detail later. That if someone is a guide of a PhD student, by that virtue, they cannot become the corresponding author. Corresponding author is the person, in my opinion, and we can debate, who designed the study, who gave the idea. Sometimes earlier the people used to say who has brought the project, but now this has been stricken out that, well, if you have brought the project, this does not mean that you will be the correspondent. But then, who has given the idea, who has designed your experiment, who has helped you in interpretation of the results, that person will be the corresponding author. If you are a PhD supervisor and you have not contributed at all, ethically that person should not be even the author, ethically. But because they are our friend, etc., and I am not encouraging this thing, but again, this is your discretion, Gopal, I am no one. I can play some role when you bring those cases to me. I can talk to that person, I can talk to that university at that level. Or if you want to be very nice, you can become the co-corresponding author. So nowadays, in many good papers, you are not having only 1, 3, 4, 5 co-corresponding authors. So again, the take-home message from this discussion is, as an institute, we need to bring, or we need to do more to bring the international visibility of our science international level. And in that case, I suggested these ideas. In the same scenario, I would like to mention one more thing, that review of the manuscript is part of the scientist annual work plan. This is fine. And when you are sending those manuscripts to me for internal review, I'm still debating whether how good this process or how bad this process is. But until we reach a decision, we should continue to follow this plan, that you send your manuscript for internal review. Because this is also important. Sometimes some people, I'm not talking at the scientist level, sometimes our postdocs, and I'm talking only few, so other postdocs should not feel bad. If you don't have, and this was happening in my former institution in IPK Gutters level, so we have this internal review. The basic purpose of internal review is two purposes, that we are not communicating rubbish to the international community. Second is that we have taken care of the authorship. We are not, as a research program director, ideally that person should know that who contributed or this person has given the due credit. No. As a scientist, we understand this thing, but sometimes you have a PhD student, he or she just joined the lab 3 months back, based on the research proposal, they have prepared the review, submitted to some journal. Because you don't have the policy of the internal review. So once, and I tell this thing very clearly to even my group, that as long as you have the affiliation of a KSIConnect, you have no right to communicate the paper without the internal review. And this internal review happens that now someone is working in Dr. Puran Gaur's group. Dr. Puran Gaur does not need to be the author of that paper, I can understand, but that group member needs to forward that paper through Puran Gaur to me. So at least Puran Gaur knows that from the chickpea breeding, what has been communicated. So if we don't have the internal review, maybe we will create the mess. I understand, but at the same time, sometimes you also have the negative aspects of the internal review, and I can discuss. But till the time we reach on some conclusion, we will continue to send those papers for the internal review. Mr. Ramakrishna plays very important role, and he is very systematic. As soon as he receives the paper, he provides the manuscript number back to the scientist. He is having the problem because he is having a lot of manuscript. After some time, Shivali comes back to Ramakrishna. I submitted this paper, what happened for that? Ramakrishna says, Madam, please send the manuscript number. Shivali starts to say, hey Shivali, this is just hypothetical name, so don't think that I'm tackling about your case. Yeah. So she says, hey, I don't have the number. Then Ramakrishna is having a problem. So we would like to request you that once Ramakrishna sends those numbers, so please take care of that number. Okay, good. Now I think we have talked a lot about this particular issue. Any other topic or any other thing related to that one? Colleagues from Nairobi, Niamey, anything on this particular topic?
Reggie, I want to ask one question.
Yes.
Regarding the two publications you mentioned.
Yes.
Do reviews qualify? Because
yes. So reviews qualified? Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Please go ahead.
Because a good reflection of what research activities are going on in your lab are only from research papers, not review papers.
That's right. So what happens, Damaris, and this is also another important point which you have brought. As a scientist, our emphasis should be on the research papers. If we have this tendency to continue to publish reviews, then our image or our reputation is also not very good, because people start to say that, well, these guys, they are not good in research, rather they are very good in compiling the information. Reviews are good, but at the same time, and generally in international level, they also have the ratio that if you are having the 10 papers, for instance, maybe 1 or 2 reviews good. Until unless you are the authority in your area, you have no claim to become the basically authority in that area. So what you raise, this is very important. Again, I think I need to leave this thing on scientists. But the second thing is, I was telling, so for in the category when I say 2 papers, so 2 papers I would like to include one of your review paper as well, but not both reviews. Because on the other hand, when you are having the reviews, they also bring or they enhance your citation index. That's also another interesting thing. So all this is a gamut of different things. Okay, good. Anyway, so now let's move to the next point. There is no next point. So there's any other issues? We have time now for any other issues. Ramakrishna brought me one issue, any other issue. If you don't have, I would like to share. So So one thing is that it will be good if you can instruct your managers and administrative officers to maintain the attendance registers. That well, the colleagues in that particular division, etc., they are really taking care of maintaining attendance, and maybe time to time they can bring those registers to you at that regular interval, that all staff, they are following the guidelines. This is important. Second is, sometimes, again, don't think that I'm going in the micromanagement thing, because I hate to do this thing. But I also hate when some people come and tell these things to me, that your colleague from the research program in Legumes, for instance, is not following this particular thing. Then I start to feel a bit bad. So you see my point. So I don't want to do this thing a headmaster job, whether you came or not, or whether you filled your register or not. But at the same time, when someone else come to me and say, hey, this person never comes, and you can see that in his register, then you start to feel that, yeah, and you know that when people start to blame, then not for me, I start to feel as a family that, well, now people are raising the question about his or her integrity, or at the same time, sometimes this issue also comes. Majority of us, we are doing a lot of work. And I know from me and from many of you, when we are sitting in the plane, then also we are working on the plane, we are working on the airport, we are working night, we are working in day. But by having said that, you cannot say, in my opinion again, that now I will not come to my office because I am working from my home. Of course, we have this thing, but if all of us will start to have this kind of attitude, at some time point, we will not have anyone in the institute. So when we are working as a scientist, as a scientific job, our job is, and I'm telling this thing to my young colleagues, so you enjoy science when you can do more, when you start to enjoy. But when you start to feel that this is burden, then this is not good. So what I'm trying to say, attendance related thing, and then when you are leaving your office, how frequently you are coming. Again, guys, you are much more senior. You know better than me. But sometimes if someone complains to me and if I come back to you, don't say, hey Rajiv, you start to become the boss. You are just of the age of my son or my daughter and you start to tell me these things. What is your age? I am working in the institute for so many years. Hey, at that time I don't go as a Rajiv Watson, then I go as a research program director. So this is also very important. I am having a lot of respect to each of you. Not as a senior person, as a scientist. I care a lot. But at the same time, I am also not very happy when someone says those kind of things or creates some nuisance. Then in that case, we have to do something. So this is again my request to all of you. So please follow those guidelines, those suggestions, whatever you have. And I'm not one of them that will be going to your office to see whether Dr. Sharma came at 9 o'clock or Pooja left at 4 o'clock. No, these are not my area. I don't want to do these things. You yourself is already a very senior person, isn't it? So, and I am no business. But at the research program level, I wanted to share those things. Ramakrishna, you mentioned about the operational budget. What is that?
We have just communicated where overspending and overspending. We request them to just take care.
Yeah, I think they are taking care. So they already have responded back. So I think that's the. Anyway, so we are already at 4:15. Now, any other question, any other thing which you do not like and which is going on right now in the research program, and you think that we can make your life more easier? I'm always having the positive approach, optimistic approach. I would like to help you to do something where you think that we need to make some changes. If changes are for good reasons, we need to make changes, no doubt about it. But if everything is going fine, everything is great, let's continue with that. Great. Any other questions, suggestions from colleagues from here, from India? Anything from Niamey?
Maybe just a request for you to come and visit us in Indonesia.
In fact, I had a plan to come 2 weeks before, and I already have got my visa, etc. At last moment, because of some urgent reasons came, and I had to cancel. So my visit to Eastern Southern Africa and Western Central Africa is my priority, and I will ensure, and I am doing my best, that I will be coming to both regions within this year. So thank you very much for this invitation. And also reminder, but this is already my priority, so I will take care of that one. Because I wanted to meet the different colleagues. Very good. Damaris, you have not invited me in Nairobi?
Do I need to invite you?
Okay. Okay, so if there is nothing, then we would like to adjourn the meeting, and before that, maybe we would like to request Purangor if you would like to add something at this stage. Okay. Okay, very good. So thanks a lot once again for all your cooperation and help. Not only for this meeting, but for last 2 months since I have become RPT. Enjoying my working relationship and cooperation from all of you, from here from Asia, from the regions from ESA and WCA. So I did not have any issue so far. And I continue, or I look forward to continue to work with you with more energy, with more enthusiasm, with more cooperation from you. And again, I am at your disposal. Whenever you have any question, just send me a message. Sometimes you may have the delay for 1 or 2 days, but then you can remind. And I am telling always my colleagues, if you don't get a response from me, so maybe sometimes either this got skipped, or sometimes I feel this is not very important, I will respond after 2 days. But if you think this is very important, just send a message, and I do not feel bad. Say, hey Rajiv, we sent this message 2 days back, you did not respond. Then at that time point, I will respond quickly. But generally, I try to respond and take action on those points. So I thank you very much for all your cooperation. So thanks a lot, colleagues from Niamey and Niger for participating in the meeting, and I think from Ethiopia also. Chris was joining our meeting. Maybe he's seeing, he could not follow the audio, but we will send those proceedings, the minutes of the meeting, and then we will, yeah. Last thing is that we would wanted to have such kind of meetings regularly, at least 3 months after 3 months. So maybe after 3 months we can have one meeting for 1 hour, and we can bring those issues. So maybe we will be sending the information of the next meeting in coming months or so. So thank you very much, and please, thanks to all of you, all the colleagues here in Tatancharu, in the ESA and WCA. Thank you, meeting is adjourned now.